It's really difficult sometimes raising boys, looking around at the sort of world that we're in right now, where you have so many predatory men out there in the popular culture around us, sometimes even in neighborhoods around you, the way they're treating women, the way they're treating girls. How do you raise up boys to go in a different direction? And I think there are a number of ways to do that. I mean, one of those things is the model of how a dad treats his wife and how he treats other women. I remember a friend of mine talking one time about how disturbing it would be to him as a child when he realized that his dad was sort of checking out women who would pass by in a restaurant or something. And there came a point in his life where he realized, I know what he's doing, and I don't like the way that he's treating my mom in this. And so he sort of, as he grew up, really made that a priority to make sure that that wasn't the sort of mentality that he had toward women. So I think teaching boys, here's what it means to be a woman created in the image of God. Here's why women carry a dignity, and here's why men ought to respect women. Not just as, well, you ought to protect women and girls, but you ought to learn from women and girls. You ought to honor women and girls. I think it's something that we ought to teach, and then also something that we ought to model. And I think sometimes we don't do that because we don't want boys to think about all of the awful things that can happen out there in the world, because we think they're not ready for it, and they're not ready for really, really graphic sorts of details. But when something comes up in the news, you can say, you don't have to say this is the sort of assault or sexual harassment or physical abuse in detail, but you can come in and say this is someone who has mistreated and abused women. That is not what a Christian man does or a godly man does. And here's how we do that. It's very difficult to do that, though, if you do not have men who are demonstrating before their children what it means not only to honor women in the abstract, but to listen to what it is that, if you're a dad, to what it is that your wife is saying, to show the ways that within your church, the body of Christ includes women who are a major force of carrying out that mission. That needs to be just sort of walked through and talked through as you're moving through life.